Hello and welcome to Justice Losers, the most unqualified podcast exploring irrelevant questions about entertainment. I'm your host, Preston, joined as always by my delightful co-host,
Batman.
Matt, what should people do?
Like, subscribe, and check out our Instagram highlights.
Yeah, so this week it's just content.
Yeah, we're just going to hop right in.
No what you've been up to or news, jumping straight into the content. Matt, what are we talking about this week?
We're talking about actors and directors.
Actors and directors.
And specifically when it's the same person.
Specifically the people that started as an actor and then decided they were too good for it.
Pretty much. Although many of them still do plenty of acting.
So what about them?
I'm going to name you some actors real quick.
Okay.
Clint Eastwood.
He's a dude. He did some westerns. He was, I'm gonna shoot
Western.
you with a gun. And
He's the good guy and the good, the bad, and the ugly. Although he's a pretty bad dude. Kenneth Branagh.
Kenneth Branagh. I know he was
He was the bad guy in Tenet.
Yeah.
He has built a Russian accent.
Yeah. And he did Thor.
Yep. Among surprisingly many other things.
Yeah. Oh my God. I genuinely never connected that. Like I knew that Kenneth Branagh did Thor and I knew that Kenneth Branagh was the bad guy in Tenet, but I never put them together as the same guy.
Ron Howard.
I do know Ron Howard. I didn't know Ron Howard was an actor first.
He was a child actor. He was on blanking on the show right now, but he was famous as a child actor.
Okay.
He eventually starred in George Lucas's American Graffiti. Jon Favreau.
Jon Favreau. I do know that he was acting and like he was in
Swingers.
And the one with 10 Things I Hate About You. Mm-hmm. He was in that. He was a goofy guy, kind of super nerdy. Yeah. I do know that, which blew my mind, by the way, seeing the guy who directed Iron Man standing next to Joker.
George Clooney.
Oh, George Clooney!
Yeah.
He did Midnight Sky, which was a recent one that was apparently
Mel Gibson. Melius Gibsontheman.
We're not a huge fan of him.
He's kind of a bad person, but he's a pretty good director.
Yeah.
Angelina Jolie. Would not have expected that circa like 2008.
Land of Blood and Honey was a movie that you watched and have feelings on. Go back to listen to the last episode about hear those feelings.
Yeah. She's done several movies, actually.
She has done, yes.
That was just her first one. It's probably the best movie I've ever seen that has an IMDb comfortably under 5.0.
Wow.
Ben Affleck.
Oh man, hated him until I watched a movie that he directed, and now I'm like, I should watch more of his movies.
Yeah, most of them are pretty good.
Yeah, I knew Argo was a thing. We talked about this before, back when BVS first came out, and I think you had the theory that Ben Affleck is one of those people that can really only be directed by himself.
Greater minds than mine have speculated that before. Greta Gerwig. She has writing cred on a lot of Baumbach movies, or is occasionally in Baumbach
Marriage
movies.
Story,
Yeah. So Greta Gerwig was kind of an indie actress, and did some writing, and then directed Lady Bird.
Yes.
She actually had directed a movie before that called Nights and Weekends that looks pretty good, kind of nice little indie thing, but no one's ever heard of it, so who cares? Doesn't count. Lady Bird was her first directorial debut.
Lady Bird was very fun.
Ben Stiller,
Tropic Thunder,
Zoolander 2, The
I knew
Secret Life
the
of Walter
Zoolanders.
Mitty.
And what was the last one?
Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
Yes.
Robert Redford.
The president of the United States in the Watchmen show.
Yeah.
What has he directed?
River Runs Through It is the one that I've seen. He did Quiz Show, which was pretty well received. He did The Horse Whisperer, which I watched about 15 minutes of when I was 8, and I was like, this movie's about girls and horses. It's stupid. I'm going to go play baseball. Jordan Peele. Comedy.
We
talked about him a little bit.
We've talked about him. He did all of his acting on Comedy Central and like kind of through that.
Yeah,
stuff.
a lot of just sketch comedy, Comedy Central. Occasionally he would pop up a little bit in like a movie or something.
Yeah. But then just decided to do Get Out, and
the world was never the same. So that's a long list of actors who've done some directing. But let's not make this a list episode.
Right.
This is just kind of some background information. These are some of the guys and gals we're going to be pulling from when we're talking about this. So, Preston. Imagine you're an actor for a second.
Okay.
You've got Hollywood at your feet. You're a famous movie star. You're Angelina Jolie.
Hell yes.
You're making millions of dollars. Everyone knows your face. Everyone loves your work. And you love your work.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you turn to directing?
I haven't done research on this, but
Okay.
I was mulling it over because I knew this episode was coming.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's an element of taking control of the content that you're in. I'm not going to make sweeping statements, but I would feel like all of these actors are like control freaks. And they're like, I have an idea. I mean, a lot of these actors have been actors in a variety of genres. Like George Clooney has been in every kind of genre.
Yeah.
And so he like takes little bits from all these and kind of starts to craft his own ideas of what stories to tell.
Mm-hmm.
And then he like writes it. And then he's like, the only person that I can, the only person that I can trust to play this story is myself. Actors, if you had to look at a percentage of the movie production that any given role plays, a director is 100% of the movie. They see it through from the beginning to the end most of the time.
Right.
So these actors, they've only experienced, let's say, 50% of the production of the movie. Again, we're unqualified. I don't know what
Right.
you'd actually do. But that gives them twice as many movies to be involved in, which means twice as many stories to be involved in than directors. So they get a lot more experience through all of these movies and can pick up a lot more tidbits from all these movies.
No, I agree absolutely. I think actors are a smart, attentive actor who takes their job as an actor seriously is in a really good position to move into directing. Actors understand acting. Actors are able to communicate with other actors. They're able to get good performances out of them. They're able to see things from their perspective, and they're able to generally run a ship that is comfortable for actors, or that actors at least feel on board with.
Right.
You said one little thing about how actors, they like power and they crave power, and that's why they might become directors.
Control freaks.
And I don't think that's going to be universally true. I want to get back into what would actually motivate an actor to go into directing.
Do
What else
actors
might
make
motivate
less
them?
than directors generally?
No, actors make a lot more.
Oh, I meant, sorry, flip that. Okay, yes. Then my point, but I messed up. So actors make more than directors, so they would choose a less...
At least prominent actors do.
Right. But no, I think that's an interesting observation that I think it might just be more of that they want to tell good stories and...
A lot of these people, I think Clint Eastwood is probably the best example of, he's just a creative guy. He's always thinking about these things and thinking about what things mean. So he's just a creative dude. He likes telling stories. He likes thinking about how creativity happens, which it totally doesn't jive with everyone's vision of Clint Eastwood as like the
gruff,
stoic, gruff old guy that's just going to murder everyone in the room. But no, the dude he was a successful like box office draw as a cowboy actor in the 60s and 70s, and then Dirty Harry. Again, kind of just playing the cowboy stereotype of just the loner guy that's going to shoot you. But he got 5 Best Picture nominations as a director. 4 of them were included Best Director nominations, 2 wins for Best Picture. And his only Best Actor nomination was for Unforgiven, a movie which he directed and which he very much picked out and was like, I want to do this movie and I need to be the star in this movie because this movie is going to be about me and about Westerns in general. So what you have there is you have a creative guy who has the exact right perspective to tell sort of a meta story about a genre that he's been part of. So to go back to Ben Stiller for a second, he's very much talked about, he just likes being behind the camera. It's easier. Because you're kind of in charge. You're the one making decisions. You're not the one with the pressure necessarily because you're not on screen, have to do the scene just right.
But you can still kind of like watch the vision happen. I can see how it's less pressure, but I can also see it's a different kind of pressure. Yeah. That just might come more naturally to him personally.
Yeah. He makes it clear that he feels more comfortable behind the camera. Yeah. So I think there's definitely one model of director here where it's creative person likes creating wants to get behind the camera to have a little more creative freedom.
I think, I mean, it's one of those things that there's an exception to every rule, but I think it is a generally fair assumption to say it's a director that just wants to tell creative stories.
All right. So that explains a few of the people that we've been discussing, but what about like Kenneth Branagh, Ron Howard, Jon Favreau, even up to a point?
I don't think that they really vary from that a whole lot. Like Jon Favreau had pretty, like Chef is an interesting story. Iron Man just do a movie that seems fun. It's using a superhero that no one gives a shit about.
Yeah.
And let's just tell an interesting story with it. They did a great job.
What about Elf?
Creative director can just take a what if thing. What if there was an elf that wasn't actually an elf, was actually a human?
Okay.
And then spun a popular movie from it. I don't think that Jon Favreau really deviates from that. It's just it's a person who grew up acting and kind of has interesting ideas and then takes advantage of his resources to create a good idea.
I was gonna categorize him in a completely different category.
Okay.
I think that him, along with Ron Howard and Kenneth Branagh to an extent, fall more into the category of actors who probably couldn't sustain success long-term as an actor. So they turn to directing for stability.
I don't think that those are necessarily mutually exclusive.
No, yeah. I mean, you have to be successful creative thinker just to become a director in the first place.
Just take Kenneth Branagh for example.
Kenneth Branagh.
Maybe he didn't think that he wasn't going to be successful. He just wanted to be a director, but now we can retroactively say, he might not have been that successful as an actor. It's good he wanted to be a director.
Right.
But at the time he was like, I just want to be a director. And I think your question kind of from the beginning was, why did they become directors? And I think we probably have interviews where people ask them why they became directors. But I don't think that it's necessarily like the driving force was just wanting to create, to be creative.
But no, I think these guys just, they naturally realized, because these guys were never the biggest names in acting.
They find bigger success in directing than they do as actors.
Yeah.
They didn't come as big. Okay. I see what you're saying, how you're kind of distinguishing that. George Clooney and Angelina Jolie were giant actors that started directing and can now be equally defined as both, while Jon Favreau and Kenneth Branagh and Ron Howard were kind of actors, became directors, found bigger success in directing than they did as actors. I see how you're distinguishing that now.
Yeah. Right. So I think that these guys probably got into directing as a portfolio diversification. And I'm sure that part of it is just, hey, I can be creative and I can be a storyteller too. But you look at these guys' filmographies next to guys like Clint Eastwood or Angelina Jolie, these guys are making, in general, more movies that the studio wants them to make than movies they want to make.
Yeah.
Kenneth Branagh had a lot of success.
They're assigned to being directors rather than choosing to direct movies they want to direct.
Yeah.
What else do you have to talk about with this?
Well, I wanted to mention that I think Ben Affleck kind of bridges the two categories pretty well. His movies are creative, and they're the kind of movies he wants to make, clearly, because he very much fits into his one particular style. He always does, gritty crime drama. But he also was going nowhere as an actor. Yeah. And so he moved into directing, just had to try something. Yeah. So I think it's partly just self-interest there and partly creative. And then you come to the people who end up with a really personal attachment to the material for whatever reason and decide that they have to be the one to do it. Yeah. So a couple good examples are a couple of the recent one-offs. Krasinski and then actually Bradley Cooper with Star is Born. Thesis. There are many reasons that an actor might become a director. They might move into it because out of career necessity, they're not likely to be successful as an actor, so they try their hand at directing, discover they're very good at it, like the creative process. An actor might become a director because they are just a creative person and they're engaged with all aspects of the film production and the story and the characters, and they like the idea of telling their own stories and being in charge. Or they might just be an actor who comes across a script or a particular story idea or a particular character that they fall in love with, and they have to be the one to tell that story because it speaks to them so personally that they have to express their vision. Or they can be Angelina Jolie and make 2-hour PSAs.
Hey guys, Preston here. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you liked what you saw here, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you know when we upload these every Thursday. If you want to hear more, we have an unabridged version on Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, and any other podcast app. Check us out on Instagram at Justice Losers Pod. See you next week.